So Juju Watkins is a hell of a player. Like, we got to start this whole video by not trying to make this a shot at Juju Watkins, because Juju Watkins is incredibly good. Overhyped? Maybe, but she's incredibly good. But let's just point out facts right here about Juju. Juju Watkins is probably the best help side defender in college basketball. Juju Watkins is simultaneously incredibly underrated as a defender and incredibly overrated offensively. Like, the way people talk about Juju, like, people are comparing her to Carmelo Anthony, and I'm like, there's no comparison. Like, she's shooting 42.8% from the field.
Caitlin Clark is only shooting 3.
And sorry, this is the video. Like, she's shooting 42.8% from the field and 33.7% from 3. And they are percentages that are drastically inflated by a couple of really hot games. Like, if you look, she's had games where the last time Juju Watkins shot above 50% from the field was on the 13th of January, where she went 13 of 15 in a game. She's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 game streak without shooting 50% from the field. But if you look at her three-point shooting, she's either nuclear hot or incredibly cold. She is the streakiest shooter there's been. But I also want to make this a point. Juju Watkins is the best help side defender in women's college basketball. Like, she is on ball a good defender, fantastic off-ball defender. Like, her defense is exceptional. But on the offensive end, Juju Watkins is not as good as in college. Maybe with the way Hidalgo was playing recently, she's going through a slump, but she's not as good as Tania Latson. She's not as effective in the offensive end as Lauren Betts. She's not, in my opinion, she's not even as good an offensive player as Paige Beckers. Like, she's not at this point in time. Like, yeah, there are flashes there, but people obviously watch Juju Watkins highlights. And this is a video I'm not going to show to people because it's from Overtime. And I think last year, Overtime did something similar. And it wasn't the Caitlin Clark-Juju debate. They were asking Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark. And the high school players were like, we take Paige Beckers, she's a team player. Caitlin Clark's an inefficient shot chucker. Like, I genuinely heard, I think something, I'm paraphrasing, but someone said, Caitlin Clark's just too inefficient. She shoots like 30 shots a game. That's the only reason she scores points. Like, the Cheryl Swoop stuff. You're hearing high school players saying this. And there's a reason I have an issue with this. And by the way, the reason why I'm not showing the players is I don't blame the players for this. I don't. And this is what you've heard. And by the way, let's just take into account that at the rim, Caitlin Clark is better at the rim, finishing at the rim in the WNBA than Juju Watkins is in college. And Caitlin Clark shoots a better percentage from 3 in the WNBA than Juju Watkins does in college. There are pretty much nothing in the offensive end other than the ability to go create in the mid-range and in the post. But again, like, just being able to burn someone off the dribble is something Caitlin Clark does better than almost anyone because she can use her gravity. But there's very little on offense that Juju does better than Caitlin Clark. But let's take a listen to some kids and what they're saying. And again, it's always the let's go and get rid of talk negative on Caitlin Clark. Let's listen to this.
Caitlin Clark is only shooting 3. We don't want to just see what
Right,
she
we want to see that.
Juju or Caitlin Clark?
Juju Watkins! We talking about the ability to go to the rack. Listen, Caitlin don't got the ability to go to the rack.
She's mad shifty.
Let's talk about how she out there hooping like she playing like she one of the boys. She not even
That's
playing
it.
like she one of the boys. She out there tweet as he step back. Oh my god.
Tween Hezzy step back. I mean, that sounds a lot more like Caitlin Clark than it sounds like Juju Watkins. In fairness, Caitlin Clark is I'm burning you with my speed. You have to overplay. Let me go behind the back. Step back. 30-footer. But, like, I don't have an issue with the people saying this. It's always, to me, one of those things where it's like, we've all been, like, these are like 14, 15-year-olds talking, so you don't want to talk, like, I'm not going to bring a point, but we were all basketball players once. We always had that coach that said, don't watch the NBA players play, go watch X and Y league because that, or not even go watch college because that's real basketball. And I'm like, it's a similar almost logic to that, where it's like you're seeing players like Caitlin Clark who can do a bit of everything, and Juju's not like that. Like it's a weird one, because I'm obviously combining this year and that year, where it's like Caitlin Clark is the opposite to what old school coaches want you to do in basketball. Caitlin Clark plays outside in. Caitlin Clark is so good getting to the basket because of her gravity from the outside. She plays what people have realized is the best way to play basketball. Play outside in. There are some teams that can get away with playing inside out, but a lot of the time, playing outside in is more effective than playing inside out. Like back in the day, the logic of all these old school coaches was you need to like dump the ball inside, pass, run cut off the ball, and if you're standing still too long, it's a problem. And it's like a lot of like weird things like that, where it's like, one, make movements with purpose, not just if you're standing still, sometimes it's better than doing something dumb. And it's just a whole flawed misunderstanding of basketball. And you can tell these kids are just watching highlights. They're not like, they're watching the games, they're just watching highlights, and they're listening to what their coaches are telling them. And that's the problem, is like every single old school coach, and the problem is that America is full of old school coaches. But also, like, Ireland is full of old school coaches, which is why I understand this, because I played up with coaches like this. I've watched like coaching. There's a reason why like there's watching a lot of Irish coaches clinics done by them. I've seen the amount of like just objectively wrong basketball information given out that like I don't, when it comes to coaching in Ireland, like I do my own research on basketball. I watch every bit of basketball, but it's like you actively learn less about basketball from listening to people from taking advice from people that don't really know about the sport of basketball, and not necessarily don't know about the sport of basketball, don't know about the evolution of basketball as a sport. And that's the thing with Juju, is I actually really rate Juju Watkins as a player. I think she is, if you're asking me, is Juju Watkins a better prospect than Paige Beckers? Yes. If you're asking me, is she a better prospect than Caitlin Clark? She's going to have to, one, get more consistent on the offensive end. Two, develop some sort of a consistent jump shot. And three, playmaking ability. She can't have a negative assist to turnover ratio for her college career. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, she is not great using her gravity. But again, she's playing with I don't know. The reason why I say I don't know and it's not a flat out no is because she's playing with two inside bigs that don't space the floor. So if she's surrounded by shooters, she can be super effective. When you've seen what happened with the Iowa, what they did. If with Rhea Marshall gone, with Kiki Fenn gone, if they do go and find like a stretch five, like I would love to see how she would play with a Sarah Strong. Silasor is just insanely good as well. But that's the thing. And this isn't a knock on Juju. This is a knock on like the reasons. It's always dumb. It's always the reason for Caitlin Clark is, she's inefficient. And I'm like, her true shooting percentage was one of the highest in college basketball last year. As a senior, she had one of the highest true shooting percentages in all of college basketball. In the WNBA, she had in terms of points per shot attempt, the only non-post players that had more points per shot attempt than her were her teammate Kelsey Mitchell, who benefited massively from Caitlin Clark's gravity, and Kayla McBride, who's just money. So they were the only non-bigs that had better points per shot attempted than her, including a Kennedy Carter who shot better from the field, because Kennedy Carter just shot twos. And it's funny because this is the Kennedy Carter logic of, what does she do other than shoot threes? The kids are like, all she does is shoot threes. We don't want to see someone just shoot threes. And I'm like, Caitlin Clark plays outside in. And it's such a flawed understanding, because the coaches are like telling people, this is bad. They're probably people that have been told and that have learned basketball from bad coaches being told a three-pointer is a bad shot. A three-pointer is a bad shot. You got to work inside before you can shoot out. And I'm like, no, it's just crazy. And it's like, it's even bad coaches. Like, if you are just even warm-up techniques from coaches, just talking about on the same thing where it's like, you got to start shooting from inside and then start shooting outside. And it's like, no, if you're going to come on cold and you're a gunner, the first thing you should do in the gym is just start chucking threes, because that's what's going to happen coming in cold in a game. But it's such a you can tell by their reasoning. And I think there are, like, if you want to argue that Juju Watkins better than Caitlin Clark, there is one argument you can make. Juju Watkins is an all defensive level player. Caitlin Clark is a bad defender. That is the only, and I mean only game that thing you can argue. Basketball argument. The only argument you can say, unless Juju massively improves, for Juju being over Caitlin Clark is that Juju is so much better on defense. Or even that Juju has more potential than Caitlin Clark. But seeing all these arguments, because it's the same stuff as last year, it's the same arguments from all the kids. They're young kids that don't, let's be real, they're young kids that don't have enough experience in basketball, that they're just listening to what their coaches are saying to them. And the arguments are always inefficiency. All she does is shoot threes. She can't go to the basket and all this stuff. And it's like, it's not even hyping up Juju. And by the way, Juju's ridiculously good. Juju's offense looks so much better in highlights than it actually is, because she is a real good, but ironically, Juju's an extremely inefficient offensive player. But no, it's just one of those things. I just wanted to kind of get it off my chest. Like, the reason why I didn't show the specific videos, I'm like, it's not on the kids listening to their coaches, listening to the people around them who don't know about basketball and getting opinions from that. As they become more experienced, though, and especially when you're playing the game at a high level, when you become more experienced, you can start to see what players do, what players bring, and all that other stuff. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.